Hi, this is Celeste from the Celestial Report, and today I thought I would talk a little bit about the food supply. I have been growing all my life, and I have also been a small ag lobbyist, as well as working for the government in plans. So I know, and then keeping a close eye on the science, the technology, and all of that. So I guess the number one thing, at least in North Dakota, that I see is that when I go to the capital, I cannot buy things like half and half for my coffee. I can't buy eggs. What's with the beef situation? I know that I do live in ranching country, but the beef is very different than it used to be. Used to be you could get a nice tender roast. Now it's really stringy, it's really dry. And so what is with all of that? So over, as y'all know, in the 1990s, they started to genetically modify different food products. And what they did is they would insert the genes from different animals or genetic material from one plant or animal into the genetic material of another. It didn't change the DNA, it just mixed stuff up. And so that started in the 1990s. What scientists wanted to do is they added some dye, and it came from the jellyfish. And the jellyfish had a phosphorescent dye in it. And if it went to the next generation, then that was they knew that what the genetic modification that had taken place in the adult had gone to the offspring. Now we have something entirely new that started about 2019, maybe earlier, but was really rampant starting in 2019, and that was synthetic biology. That's where you actually do mix the genetic material all up. It can be different creatures, it can be different with chemicals, lots of different modifications. And what synthetic biology, the bottom line, if you want to know about synthetic biology, is that it changes the function of whatever structure in the food. Maybe it's taste, maybe it's the way that it looks, maybe it's to make it green. So we had that whole thing. It's under directed evolution and experimental evolution. And so, just to tell you, I mean, it is a minefield out there. Like I said, I grow my own food. I have to buy a little bit of food these days because I don't live on a farm like I used to. But for instance, I want to take you one instance, and I am going to answer your questions. So if you do have a question, put a question mark in front of it, and then I'll know that it's not you chatting amongst yourself. And I will answer your questions after I talk. If I ramble a bit much, Miss Zippy is in surgery right now. So I'm a nervous mother. What can I say? Um, so let me share about the chickens. So a long time ago, I mean, this is when David was still alive, the big players, and I'm not going to name brands because I don't want to get sued or anything, knew that you all looked in eggs, if you're a person that consumes eggs, that you like those dark yolk eggs. They're kind of orange. They're not the pale yellow ones. And so they figured out how to put a particular dye in the food. And it didn't matter if it was organic food or regular food, it really didn't matter. And it would make your eggs look like they were free range chickens, even though they weren't free range chickens. There's also the whole thing like, let's say you love fried chicken. There are featherless chickens that were developed in the 1990s. They're called the naked chickens. You can look it up. You don't have to pay attention. You can just look at bet it yourself. Um, so anyway, the other day somebody had given me some home eggs. but I assumed that they probably wouldn't be paying for organic feed. My chickens in Montana got organic feed and I didn't have any problem. So I go and crack open the eggs because I'm going to fry 3 eggs. And this has happened several times. They were fluorescent green. If you ever see fluorescent, and I don't care if it's green, it could be yellow, it could be pink, it could be a fluorescent color, not the, it was the whole thing. It was the yolk, the white, all glowed. And so I almost took a picture of it, but sometimes pictures don't do it justice. You have to see it with your own eyes. But it happened to me several times. I disposed of those eggs and um, I did not use them. I did not give them to Miss Zippy. I would not put them outside for wildlife. That those dyes are being put in for purposes of monitoring all these experiments that they are running in our food supply, and they can do that by many different mechanisms, drones, um, Esri, very low orbiting satellites, and other type of imaging. So if you see something that is glowing in your food supply, don't eat it. Now I know when I went to the capital in North Dakota, Bismarck, butter had gone up from, let's see, $9 to $14 a pound. And so that's that's kind of what is going on in North Dakota. I do want to share my screen and show you something that I got from my biodefense. This, well, I guess it was February 28th, a couple days ago, but we'll take a peek. Okay, so what I want you to do is look out the USDA 5-step plan to battle the avian flu in poultry. For now, the cattle will have to wait. So pretty much the state of affairs at this point is they've culled so many chickens that there are very few eggs, there's very few chicken products. And so now they're going to get kind of stabilize the egg supply, it says in here. So they're going to give 500 million to help what's left of the poultry, to beef up their biosecurity measures. So, and they're talking about the H5N1 avian flu. It led to a loss of more than 166 million poultry, and over 19 million in the last 30 days. So they're really ramping it up. So basically, they've gotten rid of most of the chickens. But I want to talk to you a little bit about that in just a second. But I want you to read this last sentence. The new plan does not include any additional efforts to curb the spread of the virus among the dairy cattle. So what you kind of need to know, they're down and dirty about dirty politics, dirty food. So back in the 1990s, there was something called the it's NPIP, that's the acronym. It's the National Poultry Improvement Plan. And what many of you probably don't know is that your poultry is getting genetically modified or synbioed every single year. They tweak the whole poultry supply. It doesn't matter if it's a chicken, a turkey, whatever poultry you like, ducks, whatever, they tweak the entire supply. That's like about 15 years ago, about Thanksgiving, just before Thanksgiving, there was a turkey shortage and a egg shortage. Let me tell you about that. So I lived 5 miles south from a rancher. We both raised animals, but he did his own necropsies. So we were talking about the situation at hand, and at 34 days, all of his birds died. like, it didn't matter what kind of bird, it wasn't a virus, it's just they died. So he did his own necropsy, and he found that they had had some botulism. So he called the hatchery where he got his supply. Now, this is true for, the backyard farmer, because chances are you got it at your chicks at the feed store, or at all the major ones that feed, or chick chick places that you can get. And he had the on the record conversation, and he had an off the record conversation. Now, mind you, this is like 15 years ago. And he basically discovered, then the lady they went to the off record conversation. And that's when she told him that the entire poultry industry was changed every year. And that particular year, they had a real big vulnerability for botulism. And so almost all the birds died. Of course, they said it was a mystery and nobody knew anything about it. All we knew is that there were no eggs at the store, and if you could get a turkey, um, if you had a turkey in your freezer, it was good for you. Other people didn't have a turkey. So this whole situation has increased since that time. The Poultry National Poultry Improvement Plan has gone from just management on the farm, or if you're a big commercial uh, chicken chicken grower, or all the way down. And we've seen genetic modification, now we've seen synthetic biology. So we are getting into some a real wild and crazy technology that will be inserted into our food supply. I can guarantee you that 100%. That is what I'm covering in my webinar. It is an 18-part webinar because I have to describe the technology, I have to break it down in simple terms, and then the personal application. How is this going to impact you? And I can tell you for a fact that it's going to impact your food supply. So we pretty much talked about chickens. Now I just showed you the biodefense headlines. They said, well, the cows are just going to have to wait. What does that mean to you? That means, so the other day I went to town, and I live an hour from town, the closest town. So I saw truck after truck after truck hauling their cows out. So there's going to be a huge cull in the dairy, and it doesn't matter if it's a meat or if it's a dairy cow. And so your prices and your availability are going to go through the roof, like really through the roof, if you can even get it at all. You're going to have to get very creative. I want to circle back to the chickens, because chickens have always throughout history been, or ducks, have been a low cost way that people could have protein. And so you do not want these synthetic poultry. At this point, when you buy chicks, they're to the max, and they are basically synthetic chickens or poultry. I did look, I went to one of the poultry people to just check and see what the going rate for an adult chicken was. So that I love baby chicks myself, but this town is kind of hostile to the baby chicks, or chickens altogether. And chickens are going between, an adult chicken is going for between $200 and $300. That's at the supplier. So you can imagine in a few weeks what it's going to be. You are basically, only the rich are going to be able to afford poultry. Now, let's say you want to grow your own, somebody. These are the things that I would look for or ask questions, whether it's a chicken or whether it's beef. You want to find out, are they feeding organic? as far as their beef, you wanna say find out if they are finishing them off on any type of grain because it's a lot of chemicals in the grains these days, everyone. Very few people are growing organic and not on wide scale commercial markets. So you also want to find out if this is a heritage breed, chicken or beef. You want to find a farmer or a source that has heritage breeds. And most of your heritage breed farmers are not to the max and not feeding them this super chemical. They may just put them out in the pasture. I know when I was in Montana, my chickens got the bugs and they were able to scratch around 50 acres. And so they were very healthy chickens. Um, if I had chickens here now, it would be a very different story because I would have to rely on the commercial feed, and I don't trust them at all. I actually had, I was using a very popular brand for my dog food one time when I had a cocker spaniel, and that was during the melamine poisoning, and she did in fact get melamine poisoning. So she bled out of her skin in every orifice, and it was disgusting. And it was, I mean, here she was. I was writing articles doing the same coverage that I'm doing now. This is, I think, back in the 1990s, and she was laying next to me bleeding out, and I mean, it was tragic. And you don't even want to eat stuff like that. So anyway, I just these are some thoughts as we're going in. Is the food supply going to return to normal? I do not believe that we are going to see normal again. They have kind of opened Pandora's box. They made this decision in 1975. So, there you have it. It's not going to return to normal. It is going to be up to you to use your creativity, ingenuity. I do have some things available. I would look at depression cooking, how you can substitute, like if you don't have eggs, you don't have milk, you don't have this, you don't have that. But we're getting like it's across the board. It is going to be extremely challenging to feed yourself and your family, especially if you are very health conscious. So I guess that's all that I wanted to say. I'll probably remember about 25 things that I didn't say, but let me look at the questions. And okay, Adrienne, um, are they putting anything in bees that will affect the honey? Absolutely. The glyphosate, the frequencies, it, the whole, yeah, and they use herbicides. What many people don't realize that at the state, well, county, state, and federal level, they are spraying for invasive species, and they do that in times of pollution. I mean, they're doing it all the time because they just plain don't like these invasive species. Now, one thing you need to know is that is a mandate from the United Nations, and most of those invasive species are good for food for you and good for medicine. So just saying. So yes, bees are getting hit hard. I'm thinking about getting some mason bees this year, but I have to get my little setup for my mason bees. Okay, Pokey Girl, I would love to know your thoughts on the latest word about Trump pulling out of the UN. It was recommended. So I haven't heard that news. I don't know when you heard that. I mean, there's different parts he has said that he wants to get out of, like the World Health Organization, the climate, but as a whole, he I have not heard him make that comment, or and I watch Elon Musk as well, and I haven't heard him make that comment. But if he did, I would say that that would be a very good thing. Because just because we are a signatory nation, we kind of go with the flow. Like, for instance, the United States voted for that pact for the future, which is very detrimental to all of us. Let's see. Child of the King, Jesus, my Lord. And Jesus says, "You shall drink any poison and it shall not hurt you." Let me make a comment about that. That is absolutely true. But I think this is a occasion where we pray without ceasing. And I think for us to consume food without one being grateful for this food, because really our food supply is going down like the Titanic, and you need to be prepared for 1/1000th of a calorie. It may look like food, but it may only have 1/1000th of a calorie. The rest of it is chemicals or by the molecule, buying food by the molecule. I first reported this in 2019 because it was put out almost simultaneously by the United Nations and DARPA. And then you, after in your during your prayer of thanksgiving to the Lord, you need to ask Him to take the poisons and toxins out. I don't think that we can just flippantly say, well, I'm a Christian. I don't have to, I'm covered and I don't have to worry about it. I think that we do need to ask Him because He is the source of everything for us. Let's see. And yes, we're not supposed to fear. Let's see. Mm, not sure what your 1990s one was. Um, so this is Child of the King. The protein inside that chicken fights the um, no, as a matter of fact, I just put on X right now about these promiscuous proteins. I mean, can you believe it? Promiscuous proteins. I mean, they are restructuring everything. This is a huge technocracy that is flooding the earth. Okay, Husker. Can you speak on the butterfly label on most organic products? I heard that it is connected with the SynBio. I'm not sure. Like I said, as far as the fresh stuff, other than like meat products and dairy products, and I didn't even used to buy dairy. I'm like, I grow my own produce. I grow my own lemons and limes, and uh, so I don't know if it is connected. That's interesting. If you send me an email, Celeste at celestialreport.com, I can look that up for you and see if there is some type of a connection. It would not surprise me. There are always these little hints that they drop to you. And then just greetings from all sorts of people from all over the United States. Blessings to each of you from North Dakota. Let's see. Action Jackson. Yes, it is very sad. And you're right. Um, One of my favorite passages in the scripture is Deuteronomy 31. And it talks about that you're going to go serve other gods, you're going to go into captivity, you're going to be plagued with pestilence. And this is when when we don't honor the Lord and go by his ways and his handiwork, honor his handiwork, which is all of creation. Gail, it's okay. I'm just doing a last minute thing. You're not late. You can always rewatch it. Okay, Dee Dee, what did the Kissinger report say in 1974? Um, okay, God's servant, I will check the executive orders. I'm a frequent flyer at the um, executive order page. Let's see. Quail meat. It doesn't matter unless I mean even the stuff that's out, like the wild birds. Like I on the way to take my Zippy today, I saw the pheasants are out. Don't forget the spraying of the herbicides, the terraforming of our earth. It affects what are they called? Checkers and quail and pheasants as well. But we can pray over it. And I feel very comfortable when I pray over it. But sometimes, if it's like one time I got a birthday cake for my sister, that was a bought cake and not a made cake. we both, I could not eat the thing. It made me sicker than a dog. And I sheepishly told my sister the next day, because this is her birthday cake. And I said, I can't eat this cake. And she looks at me and she goes, I can't eat the cake. It made me sick too. So we just dumped the whole cake into the garbage can. And, with the prices of things, you don't want to have to do that. So, well, God's servant, they've even uh, check out the terrestrial animal health code or the aquatic code, and it's by the UN or the FA. I'm not sure if it's the FAO or the OIE on fish, and like all that tilapia and stuff. It's all modified. One time I went to Costco, and I was so longing for some salmon, and it looks so good living here in the Midwest. And so I asked, I said, "Is this farm?" I just was in a hurry. I can't remember. Every time I go to the town, I'm in a hurry. So I asked, and they didn't know if it was farm fresh. So the guy went back to ask if it was a farm fish, because a farm fish is a fake fish. It's a synthetic fish, and and I looked down, and there it was on the label. It was a farm fish, so I just left it. I said, uh, "I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna eat farm fish." So I did. David and I did salmon fishing in Montana, and I put up a lot of salmon. So I still have a bit of salmon that I had canned up from that time. Blessings, Cassandra. Let's see, Kelly, spellcaster. That's a little bit off of our topic. I will be speaking on this in depth during the webinar. So, and then I have a lot of information on that and Geomancer at celestialreport.com or shepherdsheart.life on my blog. Yes, Patty Knight. It was not only injected, so like in the mid 1990s, the first convention of biological diversity. I went to the UN site. I went to that, and I looked, and they said that they were going to disseminate these particulates into the forests, so that we could not go eat wild game or wild fish. And basically, what was it? It was prion disease. It was like mad cow. And so now, like in Montana, many places, if you get a deer, they really highly recommend that you send the brain and the spine into the lab before you eat the meat. A prion disease is very slow, like 20 years, but it makes Swiss cheese of your brain. You really do not want it. And unfortunately, so they didn't inject them. What they did is they put feeding stations out with prion disease. And the wild animals ate it, and then they and you would not recognize, unless it was an animal in the last stages of this, that the animal was sick. The casual hunter wouldn't. God servant, when is Trump gonna outlaw hate? Hate my carpet? You'll have to clarify that. I don't quite understand. Hate my carpet. I don't even know what that is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about your friend that's addicted and it turned his skin purple. I don't even know what it is. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, the Kissinger, thanks Dee Dee, the Kissinger report on population control. Whoops. Can we talk about Ginger asked, can we talk about non-GMO butterfly? I don't know. I'm not sure. Are you talking about that sticker that's on supposedly the non-GMO? I'm not sure. Yes, Action Jackson. I love wood floors. I love my period home. Okay. Some things, y'all, we can't talk about on this platform. We can talk about it at celestialreport.com. So if you've got questions, you can check me out on various social media. We're finally caught up with getting our website together. So there are lots of articles, there's free articles, there's subscription articles, I have consultations if you need it. I really would appreciate your comments below, and that you would like and that you would share um, when I come on. It really helps me to provide you with good content and excellent guests. I can't tell you, when I go to schedule people, they always ask, well, how many people are watching your content? And, if I say, depending on what I say, is whether I get that interview or not. So each of you makes a difference in the type of coverage. Now, I can do my own thing and just bring you the coverage. But if you want really good, high quality guests, then I need your help with that. It's something I can't do by myself. So anyway, I just guess I am going to go right now. And like I said, please keep Mississippi in your prayers. I pick her up in about 4 hours, and just pray my baby's okay. And we will see you the next time on the Celestial Report. God bless.